So this is a cop-out answer, but I would love to share the ring with Trinity. I mean, who is making history, just making waves, breaking the internet over and over with every single appearance in Impact Wrestling. I have thought for many, many years that Trinity is one of the most talented wrestlers in the world.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the
Welcome
planet.
to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Of course, I am here with my tag team partner, Dreon Santana, the EIC of WWT. And of course, we are the Salt Shakers. Now, we have nothing but the best guest here at Women's Wrestling Talk. And you already know we love Impact Wrestling. So, of course, we have to get the men in here to talk about Impact Wrestling as well. None other than the former X Division champion and one of the greatest in the world, many would say, Speedball Mike Bailey. How are you?
Wow. I am doing fantastic, especially after that introduction. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Santana, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I mean, we're off the heels of the weekend. It's a Monday. New start of a week and new everything, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to get right into it. Of course, everyone's been talking about Trinity coming to Impact. Now, relating to Speedball here, you made quite the impact when you decided to sign with Impact Wrestling. So, talk about the feeling of your debut and the impact that you've made since your debut.
Oh man, Impact is absolutely wonderful, and they have been getting better and better for the last I don't know how many years. Even before I got there, in fact, uh, I signed my Impact contract literally on the back of Josh Alexander, who was just about to become Impact. I think he already was Impact World Champion around that time. No, sorry, he was about to become Impact World Champion. But seeing him there and everything he'd been doing and the kind of platform he was given absolutely was one of the deciding factors in me signing with Impact. But I have seen the company grow since I went there. I've seen the kind of people that they put at the forefront, and I am so happy to be part of it.
Definitely. So we were there when you became X Division champion at Slammiversary last year, which shocked, like literally shocked us. But I was so happy to see that. But now, as a former X Division champion, do you have your eyes on sight of the World Championship? If so, what is it going to take for you to get back to the goal?
I do, and I never stopped having my sights on the World Championship. I said it many times. I want every single championship in Impact Wrestling, and my plan when I was X Division champion was to not cash in option C, but instead to have both titles. I was lucky enough shortly after I lost the X Division championship to Frankie Kazarian to get to challenge Josh Alexander for his Impact World Championship. A little bit of an impromptu match that went to 60 minutes. That was definitely one of the most difficult things that I have done in my life. But I think that was only part of the chase that will eventually lead me to the Impact World Championship. But I'm undecided. I'm gonna focus on Best of Super Juniors, which I'll be participating in very soon, and my plan is to win that. And then when I get back, I'll see how things are and see what's looking good, the X Division champion or the World Championship. But I'll keep my options open. Also, me and John Gresham, we've had a bunch of great matches together, but we've also tagged a bunch. We've teamed together. I mean, we do magic in the ring, even if we're on the same or opposite sides. So I wouldn't be opposed to going after the tag team championships with John at some point. I'm keeping my options open.
Absolutely. So speaking of Jonathan Gresham, it keeps getting better every time you get into the ring. Do you ever think that there will be a stipulation adding you guys matches eventually and coming to a point where you do challenge ABC for those championships? And how will you use the combat between one another to actually become a team and become champions?
So I think the reason that he and I have worked so well as a team is because we know each other so well from being in the ring against one another. And I don't think there needs to be a stipulation. I would absolutely welcome one, but I don't think there needs to be one. I mean, I think straight professional wrestling matches are what he and I do best in very different ways, but still.
Of course, and that you guys do. I mean, from the moment I found out you guys were, he challenged you to a match to be exact, and since then the matches just keep getting better and better. Despite Trey Miguel getting involved at some point, to kind of distract you guys from having your amazing matches there, but nonetheless, the triple threat match you guys had also was absolutely amazing too. So
Thank you.
every time y'all get on the screen, I'm excited to see what you and Jonathan cook up together. But speaking of cooking up things, eventually, you were at Multiverse United, the first one that took place in LA. Now the second one is coming up, and you were supposed to face Will Ospreay before he was injured. So with the next Multiverse United coming up, are you still hoping to have that match with Will Ospreay if it comes a time to have that?
I absolutely am. By the way, speaking of it, that first Multiverse United match was against Jay White, which I will guess that you are a fan of, given the
Of course.
poster behind you.
Of course, all the way.
Absolutely. But no, Will Ospreay and I have wrestled many times before, and there has been not a single moment so when my match with Will was originally announced, I was like, okay, this is good. This is a continuation. This is part of the story. Where much like John Gresham, I feel like no matter how many matches Will Ospreay and I will have together, it won't be over until one of us fully retires or calls it quits. I mean, I think Will and I have we've had very different careers going along very, very different paths, but we're destined to meet each other many, many more times.
Absolutely. I actually had a pleasure of seeing you and Deonna get in the ring recently. And speaking of the Impact Knockouts, of course, the dominating division in women's wrestling for years, over decades at this point. Are there any knockouts that you've always had your eye on or actually wanted to get in the ring, or any of the knockouts who are very impressive that stand out to you?
So this is a cop-out answer, but I would love to share the ring with Trinity. I mean, who is making history, just making waves, breaking the internet over and over with every single appearance in Impact Wrestling. I have thought for many, many years that Trinity is one of the most talented wrestlers in the world, male or female. There is no one else that moves like she can. And so, either against each other or teaming together. I think us teaming together and getting to do the glow kicks together would absolutely break the internet, and I would love to do that.
Who do you think does a better glow kick, you or her?
Her, of course, 1000%.
Just had to make sure. So you've put on some amazing matches in Impact. You went against some of the best. Who would you say are some of your favorite talents on the roster that you enjoy being in the ring with?
Josh Alexander, I think, was such a dominating champion for many, many reasons. I mean, not only is he an absolutely fantastic wrestler, but his work ethic is absolutely unparalleled. I mean, there's a lot of obvious answer, and I could give you, and I would just feel bad for not naming everyone. But I mean, I have not wrestled Moose yet in Impact Wrestling, and I think he and I would have some fantastic matches. Eddie Edwards, that I've barely gotten to wrestle, but has been a mainstay in Impact for a long time for an amazing reason. I mean, I would love to get to mix it with a lot more of the knockouts. I cited Jordynne Grace is an absolute inspiration for all that she's been doing, and more than what she does in Impact Wrestling, the way she transcends, the way she uses her social media and her internet presence to her advantage, I think is absolutely inspirational and should be a model for wrestlers all around the world. But yeah, I could name a very, very long list of who and why, but we'd be here for hours.
Listen, and we know you're a busy man. Speedball, you've traveled all over the world, different promotions, but there's just something about when you step into the Impact Zone. So I have to ask, pertaining to Impact Wrestling, what is your ultimate goal in 2023? And what do you plan to do to bring even more eyes to this wonderful promotion?
Oh, man. I don't have any very specific goals for 2023. The only one that I had, this was the one thing I told myself at the beginning of the year, was I have to somehow top 2022, which I think that in itself is enough of a challenge, because I managed to accomplish a lot in 2022. But I think that I don't have to change anything, or at least I shouldn't change anything. I think what I am doing in Impact and what Impact is doing as a whole is working fabulously well. And I think if we keep going in that same direction, great things are going to happen.
Awesome. I love that. So I do want to go back a bit to a match that you had with Kenny King. That fight pit match, I would say, was top tier from start to finish. You two put a beating on each other, and I'm happy that you won. I will say you knocked Kenny King out on the ground like I was looking for. But talk about that match there, the first time ever happening. You know, it felt like you was really more so in your element a bit in that match with Kenny King.
So I think it worked out so well. I think that's what Kenny King wanted, right? His whole idea and plan from the beginning was to make me angry, to get me to show my quote unquote true colors, which is, you know, I was never hiding anything. I just didn't have a reason to get angry in Impact Wrestling until he gave me one. And then I thought the pit fight was absolutely wonderful. I think the way it looked, even more than what we did in the ring, just being at Center Stage in Atlanta, which is one of my favorite venues, it looked absolutely fantastic. And the audience was really there for it. They could feel the animosity. And I think we delivered.
Yeah, we were there live too.
We were more than delivered. And
yeah, well, then I'm sure you felt it.
Oh, yes, it was. Both nights in Center Stage was just absolutely amazing. And I can't wait for Summer Sizzle, because we'll be there as well. But Speedball, of course, we want to thank you so much for stopping in Women's Wrestling Talk here. Now, before we leave, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, I am at Speedball Bailey on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. If you want to watch some of my stuff, I'm in Best of Super Juniors coming up. That's going to air on New Japan World. You can watch me on Impact Wrestling always on Access TV on Thursdays, the Impact Plus app, Impact Ultimate Insiders. But if you're not too familiar with my stuff and you would like to be, my recommendation is just go on YouTube, put in Speedball Mike Bailey in there. Impact has been fantastic in releasing a bunch of my matches for free. In fact, my fourth match that I just had with Jonathan Gresham was just put out on YouTube a few days ago. So you should do yourself a favor, check that out. And if you like it, share it.
Please do. And of course, now after Impact on Access TV, you can catch me and Santana here on the #1 post show here, of course, at Women's Wrestling Talk and in the world for Impact Wrestling. And of course, you can Google Santana if you want to find her content, and you can catch me on Twitter. This has been Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.